sweet Christmas.
Why'd you say it funny?
I staggered it a bit because I didn't know. I'm like, is he going to come in with Christmas? So I just do sweet
No.
Christmas. Should I say it fast? No.
No, that's your thing with the with the funny intros. Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, you know what? We've had a few pew-pews. I think we had a pew-pew on Star Wars.
Pew pew.
See, there you go. You got it. What is up, everybody? What's going
No
on?
pew pews here.
But QQ. There's a lot of QQ.
There's a lot of smashing faces with fists.
This is Ian here along with Chris, and we've just come off of the face smash trip that is Luke Cage Season 2, live right now on Netflix. This is a recent release. We barreled our way on through this one, and we're going to take a look at it. And we were just commenting, there's some beefy episodes here. You're not going to get away with the 20-25 minute sitting on these.
No. I was getting more used to the 45 to like 55 minute episodes that you would get with like Daredevil and such, but most of these were an hour. Some of them pushing an hour plus. The Netflix Marvel shows do this a bit. They do drag out, and the Luke Cage episodes seem to do this more with style than anything. Like it's an intentional style that they're going with. Hey, it's all right, but yeah, gosh, that's long. It's really long.
Oh man!
But here we are, 13 episodes later. We did get through it, so we can try to get this review out for it. Ian, overall feelings about season 2 of Luke Cage?
Really interesting. Not quite a direction I thought things were going to peel in. A lot of what I thought we were going to see in this season happened up front for me. That specifically with where we left off with the end of season 1 after dealing with Diamondback, of course, his Luke's new status as Harlem hero, and of course all his changed relationships, his new relationship with Claire, and everything like that. Especially Claire was a character that I was sort of leaning on to be prominent throughout this season. But this is something that quickly took a turn, I think, towards a darker direction for him. And I really think that's because this is the season that focuses on Luke Cage really making and coming to terms with the hero he wants to be versus everything that's happening around him, what circumstances need him to be. And there's a lot of times where this comes to a head. This is something destructive, volatile in his life. It ruins relationships, and then it's something that ends up culminating in a real change for him. And again, sets him up for another test to see what he will do in this next role. So I think like some seasons will set a character on a track, sort of set them on that track, and then that's the one they stay on. And maybe something traumatic or non-traumatic happens with that, but this definitely took another interesting turn or two. I thought as far as how brooding though, and as far as how far he went into that, little much. If I'm comparing the two side by side, there were a lot of things I enjoyed more about season 1 than season 2, especially when it comes to his character and some of the principles he stood for. With him letting those things sort of erode a bit as he really comes face to face with confronting violence in Harlem, the Bushmaster, and everything else he has to deal with.
All right. Well, I'm kind of sitting on the other side of the fence. I enjoyed. I think out of the two, I enjoyed season 2 more. I liked the fact that Claire took an exit early on. Bobby Fish also took an exit early on, and then you kind of look at Luke Cage, and he's kind of all by himself.
Exactly.
And I liked that. And I got to be honest with you, Claire was annoying the hell out of me. She really was. I'm feeling what he's saying. He's like, God, just quit talking about my dad. Quit talking about this. Quit talking about how I'm doing things. And I'm just sitting there like, get off the guy's back. He's trying to fight crime. Leave him alone.
Oh man!
I mean, am I alone there?
No, it's what I believe really was delivered as a way overprotective nagging was
I don't want to say the word nagging, but since you threw it out there, yes, nagging.
yeah,
Lots of nagging.
what's perceived as that really what I'm seeing is through her that last sort of angel on your shoulder, that whisper of do the right thing, or like do this, or I don't like how this is going, so on and so forth. So
and it's understandable, it's justified. Something that I really like that this show did that Jessica Jones season 2 did not do very much or very well. This show really dealt with the ramifications of what happened from the Defenders, and Daredevil's brought up, and his death is brought up, and that obviously is going to hit Claire pretty hard. It hits Luke Cage as well, just because of the circumstances of everything, and obviously Misty Knight. But they deal with all these things really well. They don't. When the TV shows, they kind of hide, or they don't bring up the greater MCU too much when they really should, when all these world-changing events are happening and stuff like that.
Yep.
They at least in every appropriate way, I think, dealt with the outcomes of what happened with the Defenders. And Claire is obviously, I think that's part of why she is nagging the way she is. She's very shooken up about what happened to Daredevil. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But at the same time, it's like, God, just chill out. The guy's bulletproof.
Yeah, and that's just I was about to get into. She's obviously rattled, from the rest of those events and how those have not just shaped, Harlem, but have shaped her and how they've affected New York and everything. But in a sense, it's at the end of the day, this is a world that she can't fully perceive or she can't fully weigh in on. She just can't. And not just
and she thinks that she's so damn good at it too. Because like, I help superheroed people is what I've been doing. It's like, yeah, well, just shut up.
But you don't have powers, and you're not one. You don't do this. You're not out there. You're not seeing what they're dealing with. And this really comes to a head. I remember the fallout they have. Is Claire's making that comment about I've seen you, raw, but not just getting straight up just brutality, and just Luke's had enough of it. He said, well shoot, sometimes being sometimes being brutal, that's what gets shit done.
And period. He does overreact, and putting his fist through the wall was not smart. They do a good job of it. And overall, I'm going to paint this in a very broad brush. This show, and they did this well in the first season, and I think they did it better in this one, is they do a really good job of putting in the drama in this season between the characters, both the good guys and the bad guys, and the issues between. I mean, this show does an excellent job of fleshing out its characters. Some of the best I've ever seen, quite honestly. Like, he does have a bit of an anger issue, and it's justified and it's understood, and you see it, and you almost want to defend it, but you almost want to defend it because they do such a good job of fleshing that out for him. Right. And they do that well for all the characters, I think. They're all really well written.
Yeah. I mean, if there's one thing that you have with this, it's everyone having a really robust profile about them. And this comes down to even characters that you might have thought were going to be more minor when you first saw them. One that surprised me with how far that went, and I remember saying, wow, there's a lot of shows that can get away with basing everything around these characters alone. If this was a drama, I'm looking at like Shades and Mariah. Mm-hmm. Their whole relationship with the violent, if you look at it, the really violent base to that, and with sort of where they begin and where they go, and the betrayals, the paranoia, the actual double crosses, the cleanup jobs, about the snitches and loyalty and what that means for both of them. They really go on a journey, and by the end of these 13 episodes, they're sort of standing on opposite sides of the fence about things, but it's a complete ride, and I can respect that. If I was like, wow, if you did not have the context of superheroes happening here, that could stand on its own.
Yeah, no, Shades and Mariah, they're awesome. They carry this. I mean,
yeah.
Luke Cage is awesome, but they really do. They carry this season, and it really is all about them.
It is,
which is fine. And what's her name here? Oh boy, Elfie Woodward.
Yeah,
Elfie Woodward for Black Mariah. She is I mean, she's awesome.
Excellent actress.
Nothing less than awesome. And I mean, she's on my list of top 5 villains in the MCU so far.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, she's just just the character and how she plays it, and it's so perfect. It's like, God, she's scaring me, and I know she's not real.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's scaring the crap out of me.
Just her believability, and I think
she's nuts.
She's nuts. Her ruthlessness, or the way she vies for power. But I think what really balances, just makes her performance really stellar, is how you can see how, I think, shaken and how unstable she is for all this.
And I think part of why that works so well, and why there's, outside of the obvious reasons that you have, the issues between the character, I think part of what drives her so crazy about Luke Cage is the fact that a lot of what she would use for power and dominance and control just does not work on the man. And it just drives her crazy.
Yep. You know, all of those conventional things falling apart. You know, but Mariah is so much of one by the books for subjugating, for bringing things under your heel. You know, I'm thinking back to the scene where she walks into the burned down club. She freaks out. You know, one of her bodyguards says, you know, look, my wife's about your size. You know, can I get you some clothes or something? You know, she takes that moment alone, and Shades has to come snap her out of that. She's like, look, he's like, look, you know, to be, you know, you walked into this life when you did what you did. We adapt. We have to adapt and change. This is not always going to be as it is and as it changes. And she, you know, she takes that to heart, and I think starts to do this, you know, in her own way, so well, so very well. So watching someone who's used to all these traditional devices, you know, being forced to have to take another route, cool stuff.
Now the war between her and Bushmaster's group, and even his whole story, and he's awesome too. The actor for him, see if I can find him real quick. He was fantastic as well. I mean, the cast all around was great. And it really is the best part of the show, which is good because, and I'll go into a complaint once again, in a Netflix show, the action is not the best, and I am once again scratching my head, wondering what the hell's up with this person's superpowers.
Yeah.
Okay. Just as an example, prime example that I found in this season. So when Luke throws Piranha from the one roof to the other,
right,
does it with ease,
right,
and then has a hard time jumping that gap,
right.
That makes absolutely no sense at all. A person's legs are so much stronger than their arms.
Yep.
And when you're super, he should be able to do that hopping on one foot with the ease that he had throwing Piranha over.
I mean, he threw him like a bag of potato chips up there. Yeah.
And this is I constantly say this about Jessica Jones. Daredevil's a little bit different because he doesn't have super strength. His powers are more, it's his nose, it's his ears, it's sense of touch, all that stuff. So it doesn't come off like that. And Danny Rand's also, his Iron Fist skills, special abilities are also very, very different. But when it comes to Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, they cannot nail this down.
No.
It is the only consistency is the fact that they have a problem with it constantly.
Yeah.
And because at some point it's like, gosh, he actually doesn't seem all that strong, and the next thing you know, he's just like, flicking people in the head and knocking them out, and like, all right, well, that's pretty damn powerful right there.
Speaking of inconsistencies and powers, that goes into, actually segues really into one of my complaints here, and I'm specifically framing the rivalry between Luke Cage and Bushmaster. Now, when he first runs into Bushmaster, and Bushmaster uses what I'm gonna poke at, I'm assuming that's like modified capoeira, his martial art. Just
seems like it.
Yeah, the speed he moves at, and the way how acrobatic he is, and he takes him out on the street corner at that backflip spin kick, and with how much it took Luke Cage to recover from that, and sort of like the after effects from it, I almost thought that there was some other properties that were like laced with some, like almost like some weird voodoo-esque magic to them.
I kind of thought that weakened Luke Cage as well.
Yeah.
I kind of thought they were even going to do that at some point this whole season, but they never did. The closest we got was him using the powder to blind him. Mustafa Shakir is Bushmaster. That's the actor's name.
Cool.
It's just off. I mean, there's something to be said about the argument of a bludgeon attack versus a piercing attack, which obviously bullets are piercing and a bludgeon, but. Right. I don't know. It just, I mean, to the level of invincibility and strengths that we're talking about, this, I mean, he just shouldn't be able to do it. Right. You shouldn't be able to hit him like that and have that kind of effect. Not at the kind of speed that we saw. Not without some kind of cosmic or other superpower thing doing something. It's very off. It's very, very off.
Now, they not only did not keep consistent with that, but as they have continued run-ins throughout the season, this is, and it's weird, for a show that had so many characters and I think their interplay evolved, this is one that kind of devolved. Like, the interplay between these two is something that started off obviously really interesting. Wow, somebody that can give Luke a run for his money, that has similar, if not, higher strength, who wants control of Harlan, into more of, him trying to reason, saying, hey, look, we're both gifted. We both got these abilities. Why aren't we on the same team for this? And Luke clearly states his reasons, why we can't do this.
Right.
And it just sort of devolves into, scrap after scrap instead of, I think, anything more than that. You could say, all right, I'm watching a superhero show. That's what I can expect. Okay, given. But just context-wise, these are two that I felt just sort of, there was the grounds to do a lot with that compared to what I saw happen with all the other characters, and I just don't feel it happens between these two. It actually got kind of a little dry for me.
You don't think that the reasons given for these two to fight each other were consistent, were good enough?
The reasons themselves make sense. In fact, I'd argue the reasons make their conflict a necessity. Mm-hmm. It's just what's born out of that necessity. And it's especially what we have solidified in concrete here with both of them taking their stances. At one point, Bushmaster says, look, you're not going to stop me. You're not going to stop me from doing this. As long as I breathe, I will keep coming back. I'm going to get Mariah. I will take Harlan. I'm going to do whatever I need to. And Luke Cage really, taking his stance and saying, and every time you do, I'm going to be there to stop you. Which sort of, even still, he pulls that into question because, again, how the other characters affect him. And he's ready near the end of the season, near the club, to just snap his neck. And Mariah is just vying for it, saying, go for it, do it, rid our lives of this guy. Meanwhile, Misty's like, no, look, that is not the way. And there's kind of like this, I want to say the Batman Joker interplay. It happens in two ways. It's one with Mariah. Luke struggles with this. He knows that Harlan would be better off without her, but can't bring himself to do it, just as he can't bring himself to kill Bushmaster as well. And this falls back in, again, his struggle with being what he wants to be as a hero as opposed to what he thinks the situation needs at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I don't know. They just, and the end of it, what I expected, it could be my own expectations. I came in, I think, looking at potential for a lot of interplay between these two, instead of that sort of drying up. And here's another reason why it really always felt that Luke was the bump in his road rather than his target. There was always something he was trying to do and get to. Luke Cage just happened to be in the way. And he tried different ways to kind of just move that obstacle out, but he wouldn't. And if he's, all right, look, if I have to go through you, go around you, whatever I can. But he was never his focus. He was always sort of looking over him at something else. And I think that played into it as well.
Yeah, no, so, yeah. I mean, there were, excuse me, there were definitely a couple times when he could tell, look, I'm going to have to take care of this Luke Cage guy. And that's why he confronts him early on. But then when he kind of finds out that I actually can't really just take care of this Luke Cage guy, he starts refocusing on his efforts towards his goal.
Right.
But they do a good job of making Bushmaster. Well, he is a good villain. He is a good villain. But the truth of it is, and we don't realize it until they actually show us just how outmatched he was, taking on both Luke Cage as well as Mariah at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
And he almost gets away with it if it wasn't for that darn kids and. No, but he does. I mean, he takes care of Mariah pretty good.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, he. If you look back at the season, so you never would have been able to pull this off. So in one way or the other, this would not have ended well for you. That being said, holy crap! And as soon as I saw them introduce the Owens, the restaurant,
yeah,
I mean that place is gonna get burned to the ground.
Yeah.
You knew it. You knew it.
You knew
something was going to happen to this place, and it does. God, that was brutal, though. And the special effects weren't the best, but they were good enough. They were fine when they light the guy on fire,
right?
And then they shoot him, and it's like, God, just die already. And she just shoots him. It's like, God, you are nasty.
Oh man,
you're nasty. It's just one of those things where it's a shame because, and we spoil things in the TV reviews. So Mariah dies here at the end of this. I would have loved to have seen her actually interact with one of Marvel's supervillains.
Yeah, heck yeah,
and just not just like just a scene or something. With for some reason Loki's got to interact with her, who's also dead now. Spoilers, right? Whatever. And just just because it's Loki, she gives no shits.
No.
Like so, just because you're a god walking into, let's say he walks into her club, she doesn't care. She's not going to take any extra shit from him than anyone else.
Right.
Just an interaction like that would have been great.
No, I agree. I agree. We're talking about villains. I can't help but think of other villains who made an exit a little earlier on. Like, there's been some comparisons, for example, of Bushmaster to Cottonmouth from season 1, who sort of made his exit, semi early and whatnot. And even with all that happening, even with everything that went on, there's another thing here that I really struggled with this. I'm thinking back at season 1 Luke Cage dealing with these characters and going through what he had to go through, but trying to be a force of empowerment and encouragement. Early on, he's held at gunpoint, and his thing is it's a thing, and it's in the barbershop of the every time you swear, there's cash you got to put in the jar. He can't stand the use of the N-word. He'll hear like a thug. He'll automatically try to correct, someone for doing that. But
he doesn't do that once in this one.
No, he doesn't. See, and that threw me off a lot. I'm like, he predicated himself so much in that, and that's just kind of thrown out the window. Now that I don't know, man.
There's a lot of racial slang in this show, in this whole season. Basically, I think 3/4 of it. There's not a lot near the end, but there's even still some. For me, I am not allowed to say any of those words to begin with. But yeah, I mean, there are a couple points where I'm just like, oh my God.
You're not the only one. Don't worry. You're not the only one saying that.
I don't edit myself too much. I'm trying not to drop F-bombs anymore on the recordings, but there's times like, man, you got a dirty mouth. And that's me.
No, I agree. This was something that overall came off as a negative for me and really made me say, all right. It did as a scare. To me, this is him shooting.
You're docking it. You're docking the show.
Yeah,
for
I'm docking it. Dude, it's not just the language and just the word. Do you hear language in movies and stuff all the time? It's not that. It's the fact that he established his character on sort of empowering and going against the grain on a lot of this stuff, and then he just goes and does it.
Well, he still got the swear jar. He put money in the swear jar.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
They have a whole 5 things and we're filling out a check for the swear jar.
Yeah, I just part of that, is going so far into the sort of brooding direction with this. And look at this. Between Bushmaster and Luke Cage, I mean, some of their interchanges, it's just like they're swapping hurt stories. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's like, look, I understand. Look, both of you had some really just crappy things that happened. You had just some stuff that straight up sucked. We get it. There's a lot of things about both of you that are broken and that are just terrible. But like throwing that kind of stuff around like frisbees and going into a comparison match, dude, from how Luke Cage set himself, and I like that too in season 1, how he set himself up, to him just willy-nilly just tossing that around. I'm like, come on, man. Like you were above that. It's just
I see.
It's just weird for me. It's weird to see him stoop like that, and I think it plays into the whole narrative of what's happening here. I get in the difficult decisions he's making and him vacillating between these two poles and trying to figure out which one he's going to land in. I understand that, but it's too much of a compromise, if you ask me, for someone who came off as so rooted in something and wanted to stand for something. So.
All right, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
No. So that being said, the language and stuff. Not saying that you were disappointed that they let the character, not take a stand on that stuff so much, or that maybe he had even said something that you were surprised about. Overall, do you think that the language was over the top for the show and what they were trying to convey to the audience?
Yes.
You think it was abused in that sense, whereas people in Harlem don't really talk like this?
No, they do. I mean, heck, I can go downtown and hear some of that if I want. That's not a problem. It's less of a realistic portrayal than, and I suppose some of my bias of how I'm the lens I'm seeing this through, really looking through Luke Cage's perspective on this. It's overkill in that regard. It is not overkill in a realism regard at all. I don't think
okay.
I don't think that part of it is. But looking at the kind of narrative that he's helping us drive through this and navigate through this thing, that's where I think it's overkill. Do I think it's accurate and realistic? Sure.
Okay, so not over the top as far as conveying a realistic dialogue,
right?
But over the top is they just didn't need to do it the way they did it all the time,
right? And and in fact, I like to see him struggling against that and that kind of counterbalance. This is something you're going to hear all the time. It's something you're always surrounded by, and he felt like one of those lone voices who would just straight up go against the grain on that.
Well, I'm not even just talking about Luke Cage. I'm talking about the show as a whole.
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah.
I'm asking how you feel about that. I'm fine with it, but I'm like I said, there was a couple of times that I was even shocked just at some of the stuff they would put out there. But if that's how gangsters talk sometimes, then that's how gangsters talk sometimes. I'm fine with it. It's if it's that, or if it's F-bombs every other word, I'm okay with it, as long as it is in the context of conveying reality. That being said, I understand what you're saying. It's like, well, it wasn't off point, but it still wasn't completely necessary.
Right.
Okay. And then I think do you just want to talk about the ending?
Yeah, sure.
So
there's a lot here.
Yeah, it's a crazy ending. You go ahead.
Yeah, what we're seeing in the end here is obviously a massive setup for season 3. There's a lot that goes on, from everything from Mariah to Bushmaster to Luke Cage. Just looking at a few of these, I think the big one is Mariah. Mariah's death.
She's dead.
Gone.
Killed by her daughter.
Yeah, and
a goodbye kiss.
And really, I love the kind of double betrayal here. You could argue that there's a betrayal from Shades, who is trying to cover his own rear at this point, and really lining up the cards, for testimony here. But naturally, once Mariah is dead, well, that whole thing changes, and she sort of in a roundabout way gets the last laugh on that, which I found kind of a really cool interplay. In a really interesting way to kind of cap off these two. So, Mariah is dead at the hands of her own daughter, of all things. And really, it seems that Bushmaster, this is, for him, a total net positive scenario. He stumbles and injured from his battle against Luke, and he makes the comment to her that look, Mariah's still got to burn, she's still got to pay, and his daughter just sort of, or Mariah's daughter just sort of eases him and basically says how she's going to handle this, and that she does. So Bushmaster ultimately gets one of the things that he wants most, and that is Mariah out of the picture. But that doesn't leave everything, of course. This sets up Luke Cage now, what he's going to do, and after some exchanges, some different interplay, he is now head of the Paradise Club, and this is a real chance for him to do, I think, what he'd like to call change from within, without being corrupted, or without having a figurehead there that he fears he'd have to go deal with or be corrupted. And this really puts him on an island. I look at where he started with this season, from the Harlem Hero vibe to everyone he had around him, to sort of all those figures dissipating and everybody making distance, to, as you were saying before we started, to him really being by himself. You've got rival gangs on other sides who will naturally be waiting for any point of weakness. You got the cops. You got Misty Stone, who are going to be looking over his shoulder. I mean, if for any part of for any reason he does not live up to what he sets out to do, that's another set of enemies he's going to have to deal with. So this really reminded me of the ending of Streets of Rage 1, the bad ending. Those of you out there know what I mean.
I thought it was interesting. Mariah did not give that nightclub to Luke Cage as a, right. you got the better of me.
Right.
I got put in prison. I'm dead now. You win. That's not what it is. That's kind of like no, that's like, all right, let's put you in this position and see how long it takes for you to get corrupted.
Yeah.
The whole point of it is for her to she wants the last laugh. She wants it. And by giving him that place, she knows he's not going to turn it down.
Right.
Even though his initial reaction is it should be burnt to the ground. He doesn't burn it to the ground. In fact, the next time you see him, he's wearing a fancy suit, sitting over watching the nightclub. Will it corrupt him? I think to some degree.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at probably a larger plot for season 3. Yeah, that's really, really interesting.
And this is a really neat play to, if you look at where he was near the beginning of the season with a lot of his aides and stuff complaining that, look, man, you got this image, you got this whole Harlem Hero app thing, but come on, try to bring in some more money on the side. Can't you turn this into something profitable? Can't you do more with this? I mean, you're a walking brand now, and he's done that in a more literal way than I think anybody imagined. Now,
can I remark on that real quick? That perfect opportunity for them to bring up a couple of the other greater MCU heroes by talking about being a superhero and branding and stuff like that, and they just don't bring any up at all.
They don't.
That's ridiculous. That it's situations like that make it feel like they're intentionally, excluding themselves.
Right.
While at the same time wanting to be part of a greater, obviously extremely popular and successful large universe. That's just dumb.
Right.
I mean, how do you not bring up Spider-Man or Iron Man, and in talking about especially popular New York superheroes, where both of them either are or have been stationed in New York City.
My faith has just dissipated about this man, about mentioning larger MCU by this point. Look, it's just blow after blow. Now, I mean, we're going season after season, show after show. I'm just like... Right.
Well, this was shot about, I think it was the end of 2017 is when they shot this. Yeah. I think they shot this in Iron Fist back to back. Which, by the way, was cool that we saw Iron Fist, and especially, you get the Iron Fist Luke Cage combo, which has been something in the comics for a very long time. They've been a duo off and on a lot.
Right.
You get a whole episode of them working together and, being pretty awesome working together. I think eventually this needs to turn into, they need to just have them both in their own, they have a season, not separated, not a Luke Cage and an Iron Fist season, but it should be Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
Right.
That should be the show. Also, we saw Colleen early on.
Yep, we did. We did.
I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed how they were addressing Misty Knight's amputation.
Yep.
But it was extremely disappointing after that it just seemed like she kind of got the arm.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I have an arm again.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a huge drop-off of an internal struggle she was dealing with.
Yeah.
After she really struggled to find her place, if she even was going to come to the conclusion she had a place on the force. Should I still do law enforcement? Should I not? Should I even be involved in this? To, like you said, the whole cloud just went out the window as soon as she got the arm and never dealt with that struggle again.
Yep. I mean, the arm didn't even ever make any robotic noises as far as I heard.
No.
Which is just, I mean, come on. That's just lazy. That's just lazy audio work. That's lazy FX work. All it takes is one guy to go through the show and, with a small set of sounds and just put those in.
Right.
That's kind of ridiculous. It seems like they just kind of were doing it because they felt like they had to.
Right.
Yeah, you have to because you're part of a greater universe that you're trying to cash in on. So deal with it. I'm fine that it didn't have any of its powers. I'm fine that it came from Rand Industries and not Stark, which it does in the comics.
Right.
It has, it undeniably gives her super strength with that arm. She has the ability to control machinery with it.
Yep.
And all that stuff. I'm fine that I think it even had a pulse thing like the Iron Man suit does out of the hand. I'm fine. It doesn't have any of that.
Right.
But I mean, to just ignore it, basically, and there's a couple references after, but the show does not give the, oh, hey, look, there's Luke Cage, and there's a chick with a robotic arm.
Right.
Who can, rip parts of buildings right off. And, it's, because it clearly does make, that it is stronger.
Right. Right.
But they got to fix it. This is really these are just some of the things that really just take you out of this show. By the way, did you notice, was that a fourth wall break when Luke Cage says the comment about her being his sidekick because it's his show?
Yeah, I remember that. Or
was he just kind of referencing it's my show as in, this is, sometimes people say it's, this is my show. Do you think that was a fourth wall break?
In context... In context of everything we have for this series, and the fact that there's, to my knowledge, nothing else surrounding to support that being a full fourth wall break, I took that as look, I'm running this thing. This is sort of, that's the way I took that. Now on its own, because there are some people that were talking about that in some of the preview footage, saying, "Oh, holy crap! Did you do a fourth wall break?" I mean, that's what it looks like if you isolate it. But I took it as the first. So.
All right. Let's see. So we got a new villain already. Tilda is definitely turning into Nightshade. So I think that's going to be one of the main villains. Shades is still around.
Yes, he is.
God, that guy survives everything.
Yeah, he adapts. He
does. Yes, he does. I absolutely loved, just in the context of storytelling, that considering what we focused on in the first few seasons, or the first few episodes of the season, that Luke Cage tells, I think that was Sugar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tells him to go tell Claire to go home.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not necessarily a fan of that happening, but if she was going to just come back and nag him some more, then she should just go home. But, a little joke there. All right. That didn't land very good, but no, I mean, an obvious evolution to the character and everything that had happened. It's like,
right.
Yeah, there's no place for you here,
right?
For somebody who he obviously loves. And now, does that mean that can be taken in multiple ways? Though, is it already the corruption, or is it him knowing well enough that just being in this place and being in this area is just someplace that he does not want her because it's not safe,
right?
Or is that him moving on?
Right. I think there's always a shade in the middle for these kind of things. Moreover, I think one thing that really shakes Claire is his passivity to all this, and sort of the way he approached it. Look, no matter, I think she realizes that no matter what kind of warning she throws on the wall, there's just a lot of stuff that's just not going to stick. Period. There's only so much he's going to hear, only so much he's going to do, only so far she can impress herself into that world, and she really has to just come to an acceptance of that. That those words alone aren't going to change things. That even more hurtfully, that she isn't going to be able to either A, keep him from these things, or change him the way she'll want to. So,
or is it because he knows that she's going to nag the shit out of him? When you hear it? I mean, we was thinking about that for a second. That was probably going to be a 2-hour lecture from her.
Probably.
What are you doing running this nightclub? Rah, 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 rah.
That wouldn't have gone over well.
No,
at all.
Yeah, just go home.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Are we ready to rate this thing?
I say we're about ready to rate. We covered most of actually what I was going to mention, especially between Shades and Mariah's relationship. I last little tidbit I'm going to throw in about that is sort of remind me of kind of like a reverse James Bond trope, something pretty classic that we see, at least the way that played out. And overall, again, this comes down to the wonderful performances that we had for both characters here, but really flipping that on its head. There's a lot of shows and a lot of movies that could just do that just in reverse with a male character taking Mariah's role and a female character, filling Shade's role, but it would have not come off as effective, I think, is the way they were able to do that here and execute it. In fact, the kind of tongue-in-cheek reference at it kind of made me smile right as we're introduced to these characters. The first thing you hear is, Mariah says, in fact, haven't you seen The Graduate? I love that. And it not only set the pace for a lot of the early interactions, but it played into its own tragedy. Well done. Really well done.
All right, so we will rate it 1 out of 5 Nightshades. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4.5.
That's fair. I was about at a wait. At a 5, right? At a 5.
4. Yep.
That's
out
high.
Of 5.
That's high, man. Wow.
It was that good.
Solid. I'm gonna give this one a 3.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We're way off.
We are for some of the reasons that I mentioned. I think there's a lot of, it's sort of some of the dimensionality here of not only Luke Cage but some of the larger themes, larger goals of this. I think get a little muddled. Maybe we'll see more in season 3 the way all this develops, and I could look back at season 2 in hindsight and say there'll be some changes, but there's some just besides a lot of the great performances and everything we mentioned, just some things that set funny with me here. So I'm sitting right in a 3 out of 5.
All right, giving it a 3. I'm giving this one as high of a rating as I am because I thought the performances and the writing was just so good.
Right.
It is brought. I mean, I have my issues with this as well, which we've been talking about. But I just think the performances and just the story was fantastic. This is some of the best stuff I've seen in a long time on television.
Good stuff.
So, and I know I just said that earlier this week with Voltron,
but the hits keep coming.
Too. This was just a really good week for TV.
It was
for Netflix.
It was. If this was your time to curl up on a couch. So,
had a lot here. That's for sure.
Good stuff. But hey, what do you guys think of all this? Do you got some different Nightshades? Maybe you want to rate this at a fist? I don't know. Whatever else. Hey, please let us know. Throw us a comment. Give us a couple of heads up. See what you thought of this season. Maybe some things that you thought back from season 1 you thought were going to return, didn't return. Whatever it is, we want to hear about it because these shows are not going to stop anytime soon, and we are likely going to be looking at this into another series as we go on soon.
Yeah, so, tell us how wrong or right you think we are.
Yeah, by all means.
Make sure Ian knows how wrong he is for giving it a 3. Because it's at least a 4.
That I do want to hear. That I do want to hear too. Bring it on.
All right, that's gonna do it for us.
Great. Thank you all for tuning in as always. And please stay locked right here for more show reviews, movie reviews, and our weekly show. But until then, take it easy. Have a good one. Hey people, thank you for tuning into this episode and taking a listen. If you like our content, if you like what you're listening to, is there anything to go over, hey, please, we would not only love to hear more from you, but it would be great if you could throw some support. You can subscribe right below. Also, you can toss us a line anytime. That's ksongmedia@gmail.com. Of course, you can tune in for our channel anytime for movie reviews, game reviews, a lot of random wacky stuff. Who knows what you'll hear. And of course, our episode each week where we're bringing the nerdiest things we can find, dig up, and maybe not find. Maybe the stuff that just drops in our laps. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We hope to hear from you again later. Take care.